他要拿小卓的彩礼给我哥娶媳妇儿，搁谁能愿意啊
？36万6吗？
你什么意思呀？
哎，谭女士，别激动。
这不是你自己亲口说的吗？
谭女士，你坐。
家里的事不能外说，知道吗？不懂吗？不懂得尊重妈妈吗？现在你俩私奔了还有理是吧？
我不私奔，等着拿彩礼钱砸你儿子。
你现在可承认私奔了是吧？
The mother demanded a sky-high bride price, but it turned out she wanted to save it for her son to get married. In order to escape from this family, the daughter finally chose to elope with her boyfriend. So what exactly happened here? The girl in front of us, looking extremely aggrieved, is named Ying Ying, and she is 22 years old this year. She told us that she and her boyfriend Xiao were met while working, and from knowing each other to falling in love, they have already been together for 3 years. Their relationship is very good, and her boyfriend is also very hardworking and ambitious. After graduation, he found a decent job. Although the boyfriend comes from a rural family, in order to give her a better future, he works extremely hard. But just as the two of them were dreaming of a beautiful future and preparing to step into marriage hand in hand, Ying Ying's mother suddenly gave them a heavy blow.
阿姨跟我讲了这个结婚的这个条件，那个彩礼要的实在是太高了，36万6。
36万6的彩礼，
对，这个可能对我而言是一个天文数字吧。
现在一个月能挣多少钱，小卓？
我现在每一天做3份工作，情况不好的话，那可能1万块左右吧。
1万块左右，这如果在农村的话，在我看来，这是一个未来在努力奋斗的，而且数字还尚可的一个年轻人。谭女士，你应该知道这个情况，还不满意吗？
The young man in front of us is Ying Ying's boyfriend. He told us that he had long determined that Ying Ying was the bride he wanted. Because his parents live off farming, he knew his family was relatively poor, so he worked especially hard. He originally thought that by relying on his own efforts he could achieve happiness, but unfortunately things didn't go as planned. The 366,000 yuan bride price proposed by his mother-in-law was like a huge mountain pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe. Even now, working 3 jobs a day, even without eating or drinking, it would still take him 3 years to save up this money. In his mind, marriage should be about 2 families coming together, one side for their son, the other side for their daughter. In rural areas, getting married usually only costs tens of thousands of yuan, so why did the mother-in-law open her mouth so wide? Just then, what Ying Ying said shocked everyone present.
你那天跟我哥搁那儿坐着，笑呵呵的。哎呀，你妹妹那36万6彩礼都等着给你娶媳妇儿呢，你不是自己这样说的吗？
At that moment, after hearing her mother's words, Ying Ying instantly felt her heart turn to ashes. In her mother's eyes, she was nothing more than a commodity. Clearly, she was also her mother's child, so why treat her so differently? But upon hearing this, her mother instantly couldn't sit still.
事是没有的，
你确实没讲过？
没有。
不是你那天晚上你说的不
你不要犟嘴行不行？
不是
你眼里还有没有你妈？
春节那个时候你还想不起来吗？
你不要说了，你都不看场合是吧？你懂得尊重你妈妈吗？
你懂得尊重我们，从小到大你尊重过我一次吗？
In Ying Ying's mother's view, such things were family shame that must not be spread outside. For the daughter to say this in public was basically ignoring her as a mother. Besides, once a daughter is married, she is water that has been spilled. After all, only a son can provide for her in old age. Of course, she had to demand more bride price. However, this very statement made Ying Ying's years of grievance completely explode. And what she said next shocked everyone present.
他从小到大从来没有尊重过我一次，就连我上大学，我想上大学，我想读书，他把唯一读书机会给我哥了，那我干嘛？我只能上中专，我上个中专我打工去，打工1000块钱我还得给他800，我自己留200块钱，我怎么生活呀？
你不应该吗？
我怎么应该了？
你是妈妈的女儿，你不应该吗？我把你养大，我容易吗？
你别生我，
那你
既然这样对我，你就别生下来我。
这意思你们现在就要走是吧？要私奔是吧？
行，那咱俩就以后断绝母女关系，行不行？
Ying Ying told us that her mother had always favored sons over daughters, and always sided with her older brother in everything. When she wanted to buy a pencil case for 10 yuan, her mother was unwilling, but if her older brother wanted a toy costing 100 or 200 yuan, her mother would buy it without blinking. From childhood, Ying Ying's grades were excellent, she could have gone to a good school, but her mother said that educating girls was useless. Using "we can't afford the tuition" as an excuse, she only let Ying Ying attend vocational school. Meanwhile, her older brother's grades were average, but he went to university. She thought she had to accept this, but when she went out to work, her mother demanded that she send money home every month under the pretense of helping the family, only letting her keep 200 yuan per month for herself while the rest was taken by her mother. In reality, that money was all spent on her older brother's expenses at university.
他哥哥上大学吗？
他就上了中专，因为
负担不起来了。
女儿挣了1000块钱，要把800块钱要邮回家里面，他自己读200。
是啊，他小嘛，那个时候他小，他肯定是送上大学，肯定是先送他哥哥呀，他哥哥大呀。
那他哥哥现在在哪儿呢？
他哥哥现在在家里。
有工作吗？
现在没有。
Finally, when her older brother graduated from university, the family's financial burden was lightened. Ying was also ready to pursue her own happiness. But unexpectedly, her older brother chose to lie flat at home. 2 years after graduation, he still hadn't found a job. He claimed he was looking for a suitable one, but in reality, he was just freeloading, spending the money Ying earned. This was something she simply could not accept.
我每个月都给他钱，他能出去找工作吗？天天坐享其成。
你为这个家付出一点也是应该的。
儿子在家2年，是没有合适的工作，还是不愿意去？
他工作他也不是没找，他一直在找，他始终认为他大学毕业了要找一个合适的工作。
In Ying's mother's view, her precious son had already suffered enough through university. Now staying at home a little longer was no big deal. In her heart, only her son was her true treasure, while her daughter was just free labor. Now, since the daughter was getting married, she wanted to squeeze her as much as possible. Otherwise, once she got married, her elbow would turn outward. The reason she demanded 366,000 yuan for the bride price was in fact to make plans for the future.
这你要怎么样？
你现在就不要再干涉我的任何生活了，行不行？就让我该干什么干什么。
你的意思你要飞了？
对，我要飞了，我该飞了，我多大了？
你信不信我现在敢打你，信不信？
你打呀！
谭女士，谭女士。
Indeed, anyone with eyes could see that the mother's preference for sons over daughters was deeply ingrained, which is why her attitude toward her son and her daughter was so extremely double-standard. As the saying goes, sons should be raised with hardship and daughters with wealth, but she did the exact opposite. After understanding the ins and outs of the matter, the mediator expressed his opinion.
我们老了就应该尊老啊，可是老我怎么要去尊重你呢？我尊重的是你对于我的尊重啊。中专毕业生1个月挣1000，给妈妈800，这个事情我听完之后很痛的。那些钱在哪儿？
我不知道，他估计都给哥哥花了吧。
我给你爸爸花钱不应该吗？
In Ying's mother's view, raising a daughter was only to reduce the burden on the parents. Besides, a married daughter is water that has been spilled. So while she could still take advantage, she had to grab as much as possible. But sons were different, because only through them could the family line be continued. So giving the money to her son to spend was only natural. The mediator angrily stated that the mother's favoritism toward sons was unacceptable. As the saying goes, a loving mother often spoils her son. It was precisely because of Ms. Tan's behavior that her son became arrogant at home yet a useless failure in society.
儿子和女儿毫无疑问我们看得清清楚楚，厚此薄彼。拿这个小的来补那个大的，拿这个社会上生存能力较差的补那个生存能力较强的，拿这个在社会上这样一个女性融入的弱势的补那个强势的，你大胆点承认吧。
重男轻女。
啊，对，好。
是，我有一点。
The mediator said that it was precisely because Ying had lacked care since childhood and was never valued, that when she found a man she believed she could entrust her life to, she desperately wanted to escape from this family. But Miss Tan proposed a 366,000 yuan bride price without any regard for whether the son-in-law's family could afford it. This was simply too selfish. Yet no matter how much people tried to persuade her, Miss Tan refused to budge. In her eyes, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If she let this slip, then who would pay when her son needed to get married?
我也特别希望阿姨能够支持我跟莹莹，因为我真的很想跟她结婚。然后就是您看这样行不行？我先给您20万，就是您让我俩先把婚给结了，然后结完婚之后我们再一点一点还给你，好不好，阿姨？
不行，必须到位。
什么意思，谭女士
？36万6，必须到位。
Although Ying had said everything she could, and Xiaozhua had sincerely expressed his attitude, saying he could go back and gather 200,000 yuan first, and then slowly repay the rest, this request was firmly rejected by Miss Tan. She declared that the 366,000 yuan bride price must be paid in full, not a cent less, and if the money wasn't paid, then there would be no marriage. Once the money was given, she didn't care if her daughter ever came home again. In fact, Miss Tan was very clear in her heart. Her family situation was nothing to boast about, her son was a hopeless case, her daughter's marriage was her only chance. If she missed this, her son's marriage would be doomed. According to her thinking, none of this money was going to be used for her daughter's new family. At this point, the mediator in the audience could no longer hold back.
我就觉得彩礼这个事儿是给了，是两好各一好，你敬我一个，我敬你一个，因为配套的还有嫁妆嘛，对吧？对，就这么个礼尚往来是这种东西。那如果在这恩断义绝，没有这个情感，为什么要给36万6？我们为什么要去宣扬这件事情？为什么要纵容这件事情？什么要给了这个钱就明媒正娶？我不给这个钱就不能明媒正娶吗？我不给这个钱就不能两个人白头到老吗？要我跟你们俩说，结婚就你俩事儿，跟谁都没谁的关系，想去就去。什么彩礼不彩礼，这钱留着你们俩自己花。
天哪，我现在突然想做一件事，我现在就想把他拉住，然后说你俩私奔吧，远走高飞，再也别回来。
It has to be said, encountering such a mother is truly sad. Marriage is not a transaction, family affection cannot be bought with money. Miss Tan's behavior was both foolish and pitiful. After all, whether her useless son will even be able to provide for her in old age is still uncertain. Yet even though her daughter had pleaded, and Xiao Zhuo had even compromised by offering to pay in installments, Ms. Tan remained stubborn. She not only firmly declared that the 366,000 yuan bride price could not be reduced, she even publicly stated, if her daughter dared to marry privately, she would immediately sever the mother-daughter relationship and even take the matter to court. In her perception, since she had raised her daughter had no right to marry away for free. If the money wasn't paid, it meant bullying her, and she would use the law to seek justice. But in reality, marriage freedom is a basic right guaranteed by law to every citizen. Parents have no right to interfere, and certainly cannot stop the marriage registration just because no bride price was given. Her so-called lawsuit was nothing but empty threats. At that moment, Ying Ying's heart turned completely cold. Not only did her mother not treat her as a daughter, she treated her as a bargaining chip to trade for her son's interests. She finally made up her mind, regardless of her mother's consent, she would walk forward with Xiao Zhuo.
This family conflict may look like a dispute over a 366,000 yuan bride price, but behind it lies the mother's deeply entrenched favoritism for sons over daughters. Ms. Tan treated her daughter as a bargaining chip, treated marriage as a transaction, yet never thought that her daughter was also an independent person with a right to pursue happiness. Ying longed not for money, but for the most basic respect and fairness. Xiao Zhuo worked desperately, only to give his lover a home, yet was treated like an ATM. As for the older brother, he had freeloaded for years, yet was still seen by the mother as the hope for the future. Such distorted favoritism would eventually tear the family apart. In the end, Ying chose to sever the mother-daughter bond and insisted on being with her boyfriend. Do you think this was courage or unfilial behavior? If it were you, would you stay or leave? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.